maybe I should pump one out before I do these reviews. Maybe it would calm my energies a little bit. Or not! There's Something About Mary, released in 1998 and is directed by the Farrelly brothers, who have also directed such films like Dumb and Dumber, Kingpin, Me, Myself, and Irene, Shallow Hal, and Stuck on You. And this movie is starring Ben Stiller, Matt Dillon, Lee Evans, Chris Elliott, and Cameron Diaz. And the reason why we're talking about Something About Mary today is because it was a PayPal recommendation and donation from one of my longtime subscribers and contributors on this channel, Dr. Camp. You strike again. I mean, you just give me all of these recommendations. Some are crazy, some are good, some are staples in pop culture, which I believe this movie is, but surprise, surprise, I have never actually seen this movie up until today. If any of you want to be like Dr. Camp and help support me and help support this channel, you can hit the PayPal link that is in the comments of this video, and you can send me your recommendation with your PayPal donation, and if you do that, I'll give you a little shout out just like I did with Dr. Camp here. And I remember hearing so much about this movie. Everyone talked about this back in 1998, and for the years after, everyone was talking about this thing. I just never got around to watching it. And now that I have watched it, I honestly don't see what all the fuss is about, because every single one of these characters is a shitty-ass person. Ted almost had the date of his life going to his senior prom with the hottest girl in school, Mary. But due to an unfortunate zipper accident, he was never able to go on a date with her. Now, 13 years later, Ted is a grown man, but he still thinks of Mary every single chance that he gets. So what's the best way of looking up your old high school crush? Well, you hire a private investigator to stalk her. The problem here is that the PI that Ted hires falls in love with Mary as he's doing his research. So the movie turns into one big gigantic rat race of all of these stalker guys who have a crush on Mary, trying to win her over by the end of the movie. And Mary's just sitting there, just wanting to help all special needs people in the world, and has a high opinion about herself, and is pretty particular on things that she likes and things that she's looking for in a man, which I guess is okay. You should have qualifications. You should know what you're looking for in a person. In my opinion, I think some of the things she's looking for are pretty ridiculous, but that's just my opinion. I mean, you're entitled to your opinion. You're entitled to whatever you like in a person, so cool for you, Mary. I don't see what all the fuss is about. Now, I get the concept of this movie. It's a very universal idea of being like in your late 20s, early 30s, and then reminiscing and thinking back on times where times were simpler and when you had these silly little crushes on people in middle school or in high school. I totally get that. I think all of us have that at one point in our lives. But I'm picturing the writer's room, and I just see them kind of sketching out the outline, coming up with ideas of where they want their characters to go, and I just see it going off the rails very quickly. And then when they try to hone it back into a sweet little romantic comedy, it just explodes again, and then all of our characters are all over the place. And I'm thinking, in a romantic comedy, okay, we can get kind of ridiculous. We can branch out from the main storyline a little bit, from the main action, but at some point our characters have to come back together to where they fall in love with each other and decide to spend the rest of their days together. That's the ideas behind a romantic comedy. The problem with this movie is that those explosions, the separations in that plot line, are enormous. Like, they're gigantic. These characters go off the rails. Like, what the fuck is going on throughout this thing? Our characters have a brief moment where they intersect, and then it explodes again. And honestly, I'm not feeling the connection between our two love characters. I get the simple crush, but then when you take a step back, you realize, like, hey, you're kind of being creepy by hiring a PI because you yourself can't find the person in the phone book. I guess it was 1998, so there wasn't really a lot of internet searching going on. But you hire someone to stalk someone for you because your stalking only got you so far. And then said stalker is like a professional stalker, and then falls in love with said stalkee person that they're stalking. Then they stalk them to get into a relationship with them, and then they find out that one of the friends is also a stalker trying to get to this person. There's a lot of stalking going on here, which stalking is not a great foundation for any relationship. So where this movie goes, if any of you have never seen this before, like me, I'm not going to spoil it, but in the end, the story, the message here is kind of being okay with stalking someone. even just a little bit, which I cannot get behind as a human being. I just can't do that. All these characters are terrible. They're absolutely terrible. They're all lying and cheating and stealing themselves into the affectious arms of Mary. And I don't understand why. There are so many more fishes in the sea, and for you to basically be thinking with your dick the whole time, to going after your previous flame and your previous crush, and you're so enthralled with them that much, I think you need some serious therapy, dude. Which I guess Ben Stiller's character, Ted, the main character, he does go to therapy, just has a terrible therapist because he doesn't listen to him at all. So, I mean, I do recommend therapy for something like this. Just get a good therapist. Don't get this therapist in this movie. He's a dick. See? Every single one of these characters, a dick. Hell, even the dog's a dick at some times. Which you all know my mandates on films. I hate seeing when dogs get hurt or when they die on screen. And there is one huge comedic bit in here that is all about resuscitating a puppy. I did chuckle. It was hard. I was confused at the time. My face was in shock and awe, but it was also hilarious because it was a really good dummy. It was a really good prop of a dead dog, so... Oh, this movie's confusing. And I know the most famous part is the hair gel moment where they go on a date and her hair is sticking up because it ain't hair gel, if you know what I mean. And I guess I was expecting something more with that, because that's all what everyone talked about in my high school when this film came out. Everyone talked about that scene and that moment, so I was expecting some great conclusion to it, but no real conclusion. It was just, hey, I put semen in my hair and it sticks up. And that was it. Okay. For a movie that everyone talked about, that everyone is very fond of, I just don't get it. And maybe it's because I didn't watch it at the time and I'm not a product of the time of people watching this movie. Maybe that's why I'm not connecting with this, but it just missed for me. I wasn't enjoying myself at all. And I hate this outlook on love and relationships and building it between all these characters. And yes, I know it's farcical. Yes, I know it's outlandish. That's the whole point behind the Farrelly brothers. That's what they do. They directed Dumb and Dumber, for God's sakes. But I just didn't connect with these characters or this story, and I don't understand the appeal that Mary had on every single one of these people. Like, there are so many other interesting people out there that you could get to know and establish relationships with, but instead you choose Mary, who's played by Cameron Diaz, who is not a great actress at all. So there's no appeal for me, the audience member, watching all these people swoon over Cameron Diaz. It just doesn't make sense to me. I'm gonna give Something About Mary 1.5 out of 5 Blu-rays.
No, sir, I didn't like it.
So guys, if you've seen Something About Mary, what did you think about it? Or if you've never seen it before and you stumbled across it because of this video, then comment below, let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you see here, if you like my take on movies, then hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that bell so you'll know the next time I'm releasing my next movie review. So guys, I will see you next time on the channel, but in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.